The streets of Los Angeles exploded in disbelief after Big U's son, Jabari Baby Y Henley, was gunned down in cold blood on Halloween night. But the chaos that followed took things from tragedy to total madness. Before the city could even process the loss, NSBE's affiliates jumped online, mocking Big U's pain and throwing shade like they'd been waiting for this moment. The disrespect lit the match for what's shaping up to be one of the wildest street showdowns LA has seen in years. What looked like just another street hit turned into something way darker. That night, while most folks were handing out candy or wrapping up Halloween block parties, the South Central trenches were hit with news so heavy, it shut down every conversation from Crenshaw to Compton. This wasn't no random shooting. This was the kind of moment that exposes everything. Old beefs, buried secrets, and scars that the culture's been carrying since 2019 came rushing back to the surface. Jabari's murder wasn't just another rest in peace post. It was about to spark one of the most toxic digital storms the hip-hop world had ever seen. Social media turned into a battlefield overnight, where the streets of Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok became more dangerous than the real ones.
I mean, it is what it is as far as this is how the streets go, but BigU, I ain't gonna hold you. Solid dude. Like, as young as he was, if you actually met him, he actually seemed way older. Kel was solid, like straight, solid dude. Now some of y'all be, well, he was in the street. He didn't operate like that. He wasn't operating out here like no goofy. Let me just flat out put that out there.
People weren't mourning. They were taking sides, airing out long-held grudges, and showing zero mercy. Right at 11:11 p.m. on Halloween, October 31st, 2025, LAPD's 77th Street Division got that dreaded call. Shots fired at the corner of South Figueroa and West 69th Street, and what went down there quickly became one of the most talked about shootings of the entire year. If you know anything about South LA, you already know that Vermont and Slauson area stays active. It's one of those neighborhoods where history never really dies. Every block got a story. Every corner got tension. And this particular spot, a small smoke shop called Fig and 69 Smoke Spot, sat right in the heart of it all. Surrounded by liquor stores, auto shops, and empty lots, it's deep inside Rollin' 60s Crip territory, a zone that's been holding it down for generations. Now, word on the street is that the shop itself wasn't gang affiliated. It was just unlucky enough to be sitting in the middle of the wrong kind of heat. But when trouble comes to South Central, it doesn't need a reason. It just shows up. Witnesses said the scene played out like something straight out of a movie, except this wasn't Hollywood. This was raw reality, with real blood and real consequences. Two bystanders, a couple walking out the shop, and a food truck vendor parked nearby all told investigators the same thing. A dark-colored sedan, maybe a Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord, pulled up smooth to the curb. Jabari, standing tall at 6 feet 1 inch and around 210 pounds, stepped up to the passenger window and started talking to whoever was inside. No yelling, no chaos, just a quick exchange that looked normal at first. Then, in a blink, everything changed. Within seconds, the night erupted in gunfire. Pop, 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 echoing through the block. Folks dropped to the ground, scrambling for cover as the shots kept ringing out. You could feel the fear and confusion in the air. That instant silence after the bullets stopped, when everyone's too scared to move. When the smoke cleared, Jabari was down by the entrance of the smoke shop, clutching his side and gasping for air. The shooters had fired at least 7 rounds, according to LAPD. Investigators later confirmed the shell casings came from a semi-automatic, probably a 9mm or a .40 caliber. Jabari took multiple hits, 2 in the torso, 1 tearing through his upper chest, another ripping into his stomach, plus 1 in his arm and 1 in his thigh. It was a brutal, calculated hit, not some sloppy drive-by, and the way it went down told everyone.
All this is nonsense. Me and BigU even had a conversation about it. And I said, man, I'm sorry you're getting dragged into this fake storyline. Not that I have anything to do with it, because I've never interviewed Loose Cannon or anything else like that. But I just as someone I'm cool with, I said, I'm sorry that this is the story that's going out and people are running with it, because I remember every conversation I've ever had with BigU, he's always spoken positively about Nipsey. Every time. Our interview, nothing negative about Nipsey. Personal conversations, nothing negative about Nipsey, ever.
Watching that this was personal. The sedan peeled off northbound on Figueroa, hit a sharp right on 68th, and vanished into the LA night like it never existed. Paramedics and firefighters rushed in within minutes, lights flashing across the block, but by then it was too late. Sometimes fast just isn't fast enough in LA. The city that celebrates survival had just lost another son, and this time, it was someone connected to one of the most powerful figures in the entire West Coast scene. The whole hood could feel it. This was just the beginning of something much bigger. The night of candy and costumes turned into a night of blood and betrayal, and what came next would shake LA to its core. The music Jabari made was real, the kind that spoke straight from the trenches. Every lyric hit deep, all about loyalty, survival, and holding it down for family no matter what. But now, hearing those songs after how his story ended, it hits like a punch to the chest. What's wild is that rap wasn't even his main hustle. It was just something he loved doing on the side. People close to Jabari say he was actually putting in work as a warehouse supervisor at a logistics spot out in Compton. Dude was focused on his responsibilities, raising his 10-year-old daughter and keeping his life steady. They all said the same thing. Jabari wasn't trying to live reckless or chase clout in the streets. He stayed out the way, they said. And in South LA, that means minding your business, staying solid, and avoiding the kind of drama that can get you killed. That's why his story hurts so bad, because Jabari represented something bigger than himself. He was proof that you could come from the block, love where you're from, and still choose peace. He wasn't out here flexing or running wild. He was working hard, taking care of his people, and trying to carve out a life that didn't end in a headline. Everyone who knew him from the neighborhood had nothing but love and respect for how he carried himself. They said he was calm, grounded, and never forgot where he came from. That quiet strength made his loss feel like the whole hood took a hit. Jabari left behind 3 siblings, each doing their own thing and making their mark. His brother, Dion Henley, 28, linebacker for the LA Chargers, dropped a heartbreaking message on Instagram the next morning. "My heart is shattered. Rest easy, bro. We got the fam." His older brother, Michael Henley, 32, keeps things steady as a barber in Hawthorne, and their sister, Shay Henley, 30, works as a nurse out in Long Beach. The whole family had been moving forward, building legit careers, breaking cycles, and then tragedy hit them like a train out of nowhere. But the pain cuts even deeper when you find out where Jabari's father was when he got the news. Eugene Big U Henley, 58 years old, one of the most respected and controversial figures in LA's street history, found out his son had been murdered while locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown LA. He's been there without bail since March 2025 after the feds hit him with a 43-count RICO indictment. And this wasn't no light case. It was heavy. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California came with a full-blown federal hammer, accusing Big U of running what they called a mafia-like operation connected to the Rollin' 60 Crips. The list of charges was wild: extortion, human trafficking, bank fraud, and even allegedly ordering a hit on a Vegas rapper. It was one of the biggest cases to hit LA in years, shaking both the streets and the industry. Now picture this. It's 1:30 in the morning on November 1st. The whole jail tier is dark, lights out, dead quiet. Big U's co-defendant, Loose Cannon, another music exec wrapped up in the same RICO, sneaks word through a contraband phone from someone on the outside. He had to break the news to Big U in a whisper, right there in the cell block. Later, Cannon told TMZ and Hot New Hip Hop about that moment, and the way he described it was chilling. He said Big U just froze. He didn't say a word at first, Cannon recalled. Tears streaming, fists clenched, then he whispered, "Not my boy, not like this." It was the sound of a father's heart breaking behind concrete walls. Cannon said the moment crushed them both. "We were shattered, man. Heartbroken and devastated doesn't even cover it," he said. "We'll work through this together, even from in here. God makes no mistakes. He's testing us, but we'll rise." You could feel he was trying to find meaning in something that didn't make sense at all. By November 2nd, 2025, the case was still wide open. No arrests, no suspects. LAPD's South Bureau Homicide Division was grinding around the clock, chasing every lead and reviewing 12 different surveillance videos from nearby businesses. The city even put up a $50,000 reward through the crime reward program, hoping somebody would finally speak up. But before investigators could even get traction, something wild happened online. Something that showed just how toxic things can get when grief, conspiracy theories, and old beef start mixing in the digital age. Less than 2 hours after the first police scanner reports hit the net, around 11:45 p.m. on Halloween, the internet went crazy. Within minutes, Jabari's name was trending. Posts spread like wildfire, first through local accounts, then through blogs, then across major platforms. It wasn't just LA talking. It went global, with hashtags, memes, and wild accusations popping up faster than facts could be confirmed. And with that came the worst of it, the disrespect. People making jokes, throwing shade, spinning stories that had no proof, but plenty of venom. What the world saw that night was the dark side of the internet, where people forget these are real lives, real families, real pain. Instead of condolences or justice calls, the comment section turned into a digital war zone full of conspiracies, finger-pointing, and cruel laughter. And through it all, one thing became clear. The hip-hop community still hasn't healed from losing Nipsey Hussle. The wounds from 2019 never closed, and Jabari's death just ripped them open all over again. What came next wasn't sympathy or understanding. Nah, it was chaos, clout chasing, and conflict, all playing out in real time for the world to see. The story people started spreading online made no sense. Zero evidence, no receipts, nothing real to back it up. Yet it spread like wildfire anyway. Folks were out here trying to connect Jabari's murder to the ghost of 2019, saying it was somehow karma for what happened to Nipsey Hussle. That theory wasn't built on facts. It was built on pain. A community still grieving, still raw from losing a man who meant everything to the culture, needed someone to blame. And somehow, Big U became that villain in their story. But not everyone fed into that twisted narrative. There were still people pushing for peace, trying to bring reason into the chaos. Black Sam, Nipsey's brother and the executor of his estate, made it crystal clear where they stood. On November 1st, he posted through RAH Records Instagram, "Pain multiplies pain. Honor Nip with peace, not this." That single post hit hard. It was a reminder that Nipsey himself stood for unity and growth, not revenge and internet warfare. A few voices in hip-hop stepped up too, calling out the madness. They said what so many were afraid to, that the culture had lost its sense of humanity. While the internet turned Jabari's death into a sideshow, those who actually knew Big U were heartbroken seeing a grieving father turned into a target. These weren't story starts, not on social media, not in a thread full of hashtags, but right there in the heart of Crenshaw, where loyalty and ambition were about to collide in ways no one could have predicted. Big U still showed up to Nipsey's marathon store opening, but the air was already thick with tension. He made a cryptic post on X that same day, writing "loyalty tests all." At first, it didn't seem like much, until tragedy struck. Later, photos surfaced showing Eric Holder at that same event, standing just feet away from Big U, images that would gain a haunting new meaning after Nipsey Hussle was killed. When Nipsey was murdered on March 31st, 2019, Big U's response was instant and powerful. He didn't hide, he didn't run from the pain. He faced it head on. Just 2 days later, on April 2nd, he organized a massive unity march, pulling more than 5,000 people into the streets of Crenshaw. Rival gangs who hadn't shared space in years walked side by side under one message: peace. Big U took the mic at Nipsey's memorial service and poured his heart out, saying, "He was my son in spirit." Those who were there said his voice cracked with emotion. Could have been a case of spillover retaliation, not the cosmic revenge theory social media ran with. Inside LAPD memos even hint at conflicts between newer crews, completely unrelated to the old Nipsey storyline that the internet couldn't let go of. What this whole tragedy really exposes is something deeper than one murder or one feud. It shows how the internet has changed the way we deal with grief, justice, and truth. Real lives get reduced to conspiracy posts and viral clips, while families like the Henleys are left shattered in silence. The Henley family, already hit hard by Big U's incarceration and the RICO fallout, which froze their Hyde Park home and seized their assets, are now privately arranging Jabari's funeral. A memorial is tentatively set for November 8th, expected to be small, family only, far away from the cameras and chaos that have haunted them since Halloween night. What started as one man's personal loss has turned into a mirror for how the culture handles pain in the age of clicks and clout. We're watching tragedy get turned into entertainment, and nobody wins in that. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and check out the videos on your screen for more deep dives just like this one.